Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ampliverse Book Club. This month was a very special month because we read the novel, a little novel you may have heard. It's called Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, an up-and-coming novelist that we're so excited to promote on the show today. So here is the lineup of today's book club. First off, she had an excellent heart. Her disposition was affectionate and her feelings were strong, but she knew how to govern them. It's Allie. It's Eleanor. Ooh, we like that. Next up, she was sensible and clever, but eager in everything. Her sorrows, her joys could have no moderation. It's Catherine.
So accurate, like disturbingly accurate.
Oh no, it's like horoscope. It's like you pick a random Jane Austen quote and you're like, yes, oh my God, that's me.
I am a September Virgo, yes.
Oh my God. And then finally, she was zealously active as far as her ability reached and missed no opportunity of projecting weddings among all the young people of her acquaintance. It's me, Mrs. Jennings. Mrs.
I was going to say,
Jennings.
is that Mrs. Jennings? Okay.
I was trying to be like, I don't even remember the third sister. Margaret? Maggie?
Yeah.
Peggy?
Margaret.
Peggy?
Margaret. Well, did you see my note?
Margaret. And I'm like, I'm not even her because I don't know enough about her.
I thought she was much older till I got to the movie. I won't skip ahead though. We'll wait.
So we have so much to talk about Sense and Sensibility. But first we will get started with the age-old question that starts every book club. Did you like this book? And so we're going to start off with Catherine. Catherine, did you like this book?
No.
Straight to the point.
Catherine, let's hear it. Let's hear it. How was your reading experience? I want to hear the story.
As everyone knows, I like to audiobook. So when we were talking about doing this book, I got on Libro.fm and I bought my audiobook for like $1 something. I was like, wow, this is great. And then I started listening to the audiobook and it was an AI voice and I was going to jump off a bridge. So
are you kidding me? It was literally Siri reading your book.
I mean, it was a man Siri.
Even worse.
Even worse.
Even worse.
As we know from this book, men are worse.
The worst. So I said, nope, not on tonight. And then I went onto my library app and Libby came through for me and she had it being read by a human being.
Okay.
And I was like falling asleep at the wheel while trying to drive home from Halloween Horror Night. But I was pushing through and finally 40-something%, I was like, maybe there's a plot point here. Maybe we finally reached a plot point, everyone. And it did get more interesting. And then I was in the 60s percentage-wise somewhere. And then Libby backstabbed me and said, oh, you're done, and pulled the book away from me.
Wow.
And therefore, I did not know where I was, at which time I gave up. And I was like, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to watch the movie. And I watched that on Friday. It was fine. She's not my genre. But yeah. So good times.
So the movie, funny, is that the movie which starred Emma Thompson, Alan Rickman, Kate Winslet, Hugh Grant, and Emma Thompson actually won the Oscar for that movie for adapting it to. So it was her only Oscar has been in writing and adapting.
I thought she won acting before that.
Let me check.
I'm only saying that because I feel like what did I read about her the other day?
Howard's End. Howard's End. She did.
Okay.
She had an Oscar from that. But yeah, very much like, I don't know, like I had a fond, when I watched the movie the first time, it was very much like for me, like this is how I shouldn't read Jane Austen. I should see Jane Austen. Like I had that moment.
Like Shakespeare.
Yes. I was like, this feels more palatable of like this style. But I mean, I really love that movie. I love Kate Winslet and Emma Thompson. As a gay man, I love Kate Winslet and Emma Thompson.
It's required by law.
It's required. And they do a really great job in it. So I'm glad that we at least had that to like fall back on if any of us, couldn't go on. So
yeah.
Okay, Allie, how about you? Allie, did you like this book?
My like one line review is that this book is the reason why Spark Notes exist.
Yep.
But here's the thing. Okay, so first of all, I think RJ, you might have done something similar based on your notes, but I kept Spark Notes up as I read it, and every time I finished a chapter, I went back just to make sure, like, okay, and then I would read the commentary, and Spark Notes does not have spoiler alerts. And I had never seen the movie. I didn't know anything going into it, and it freaking spoiled. When I was on like chapter 20, I was like, "Are you serious?" So if anybody out there is watching this, I guess you would probably want to have read it all. I don't know, but if you're trying to avoid spoilers, Spark
this
Notes
isn't the
does
place
not.
for you either. If you're trying to avoid spoilers,
it's very true. But maybe for in the future for other books, right. Spark Notes does not provide spoiler warnings. So
it doesn't.
I didn't like that.
It is truly for you're cheating. You want to get the gist of this book so you can talk about it in class. Well, so they will summarize groups of chapters for you. I'm like, oh.
Right. But that's how I read when I was in high school and I was feeling bougie and I was reading Faulkner. I read Faulkner. I would read some chapters
for fun?
And then, well, the first time, no. The second and third times, yes. But I would read the few chapters and then I would read the summary. I wouldn't read the commentary, just the summary. But Faulkner be like that. I'm like, that's like a puzzle. It's like a whole literary puzzle.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Ellie.
But besides Spark Notes, yeah.
And so that's my thing about it is that like if you're going to spend a whole chapter on deciding whether or not to go to London when it could be just as succinctly summarized and like they went to so I'm like okay. But here, my issue is that now that I've finished it, and once I got to around like chapter 40, I was like fully invested in the drama of it all.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, what was happening in chapter 40? What happened that sucked you in?
It was right about the time when they were probably right around the time when like it was revealed to Fanny that Edward and Lucy were engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so then by the time that they got to the house in Cleveland and Eleanor thought it was Colonel Brandon, but it was actually Willoughby, my jaw dropped. And I was like, but the thing about it is that, like, do you understand the level of monotony a book has to have in order for that to be shot?
To be like a gag.
See, I didn't make it that far.
Unexpected arrival. Like, so that was wild to me. And so, but the thing is that, like, I think the story itself is pretty good. I would love to see it written in like a modern vernacular because I think it would still be like, I think it would be much better. And I'm sure, in Jane Austen's days, people were like, go off.
Yes, she doth. Yeah, whatever.
So, and I mean, I've never watched like Downton Abbey, but I can imagine that it's probably the same thing where it's like, it's such low stakes that when something that's not like gardening happens, you're like, what?
Yeah. See, so like for me, the moment when I was like, oh God, here it comes, a plot. It was when Lucy revealed to Eleanor that she was engaged to Edward. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was starting to get interested, but it took that long.
Okay, so that was what was your first like, oh, now I'm intrigued?
Well, I was with the book through, but it was really when I started to get like invested, like I was very like, oh, what's going to happen next? It was probably around the time when Fanny had her like hysterical meltdown because she found out that her brother had been secretly engaged. And that's when I was like, what intrigue?
Meanwhile, that was like a 30-second scene in the film. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Like,
okay.
Yeah. It's like a 30-second scene. I mean, I did enjoy it, though. That was a really good scene. I'm not going to lie. I laughed, actually.
For me, it was when Marianne fell from the horse and then Willoughby, like, or she fell.
That was early.
I know, it was early because I was like, oh,
when she's running down the hill.
Yeah, she's running down the hill and then he saves her. And I'm like, ooh. And then the first time I legit, like, gasped was when Eleanor saw them like give a lock of hair, like, and then because I know that was ended up being like a point of contention of like, because he was saying like, well, you gave me that lock of hair, but I want to remember from the audiobook it seemed like he like took the lock of hair from her, right?
Well, so in the book it's Margaret who sees it and tells
Margaret,
Eleanor.
yes, Margaret, yeah, not Eleanor. See, girl, I had to keep the character page open. Okay. To be like,
I didn't spark notes. I was just like, we're going in. Here's hoping.
Yeah. I think that was,
so
for me, I started reading, because the book is in the public domain. So I got a free PDF or a free Kindle book. And then I was going very slow. Like I was going extremely slow that I'm like, I don't think I can do this. So I got an Audible for a month just so I could, because it was also Rosamund Pike doing, which I mentioned last time, that Rosamund Pike is doing the audiobook on Audible. And I had previously listened to Emma, which was narrated by Emma Thompson, like 2-3 years ago. And I really liked that because Emma, that was also the same time the movie came out. So I was like, I'm all about Emma. Clueless, based off of Emma. I'm like, I am all in on Emma. I want more of the story. Give me the Emmaverse, Show me every iteration of the show or of this,
into the Emmaverse.
Yes, into the Emmaverse. So I did the audiobook, and I will say, like, I feel like her words, and especially when they talk, it is so much more fulfilling, and I can understand and I can like capture it better when it is spoken out loud. But I did have to keep kind of going back and forth with SparkNotes just to make sure that like after I get through a bunch of pages, I'll check SparkNotes to be like, okay, what was the gist of all of that hullabaloo? Okay, got it. It was Robert. Okay, great. Right. Like I just had to like
I bet that those SparkNotes summaries were like one sentence for every chapter. Because like they'll be like, should we buy the table or should we not buy the table for like a whole damn chapter?
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, you seem happy in the cottage now. Can we just move on?
Like, or like when they were supposed to go to Whitwell or whatever, and Colonel Brandon had to go back because of his daughter. But like it was a whole chapter of like, oh well, surely you can stay, please. And he's like, no, I really have to go. For a whole chapter of just that.
Yeah.
Again, 30 seconds in the movie.
I do think it's interesting that you say that, RJ, because I mean, I didn't even try to listen because I just don't do audiobooks. But to me, like I just know that I wouldn't have comprehended it. But I do wonder if because we're a little bit more used to that,
Austen
like the Jane Austen style, seeing it on screen, right? And so we're used to like hearing it less than we are reading it. So it's just a theory, but I do think that's interesting.
I only like read like a physical like words for a book if it's something that I'm taking extensive notes on. Like when we read the one that you suggested from the New York Times about the
Invisible Child
homelessness. Yeah. I had both the audiobook and the Kindle book taking notes.
Okay.
Like that's pretty much the only time that I revert to that. But that's just a personal thing, not a so I doubt if I had tried to read this book, I would have been like
It is a lot of that. It is a lot of like, okay, all right, okay. I feel like the
How do you
main
fast forward?
I think what makes the most sense about talking about this book is just through the characters. So let's talk about it. Let's just start with the sisters right now. Let's talk about Eleanor, Marianne, and Peggy, Margaret, which is a nickname for Margaret. So
That works out well.
she could have been a Peggy. Yeah, let's talk about Eleanor versus Marianne. And it's giving like Jo March versus
Amy.
the others. Yeah, like Amy. Yes, exactly.
I see that.
And it's, you know, it's kind of like the Eleanor kind of being like very sharp, very tactful, very like clear-headed, but then Marianne obviously is like more of the emotional one. But I never the romantic, yeah. I never felt though that like that they Marianne resented Eleanor at any point. I feel like the closest that I could think of was like when she obviously found out that Willoughby is a fuckboy, that she was just like, you could never understand like what I'm going through or whatever. And like, it's like, well, she kind of does.
I thought that whole moment was really interesting also.
Yeah.
By the way. Anyway.
My read on the book was, I now understand why Jane Austen is so popular among second wave feminists. And
please explain.
Bold statement. Yeah.
Bold statement. Please explain.
So, like, for me, it was very interesting because, and this is a little bit more thematic of the book as a whole.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting to me was that, like, for Eleanor, and really because, like, the Spark, I will cite my source and say that Spark Notes did point out that Jane Austen like makes it very clear to the reader if she doesn't like a character, like it comes through in the text.
Yes, for sure.
And so for me, like it really came through, especially through like Eleanor's point of view, that like any woman who could have been perceived as emotional or hysterical was like, that's really embarrassing. Yeah. Like, doesn't she understand that she needs to be like composed and courteous and polite and be everything? And like, and I think not only that, in that sense of like a woman has to be this way in order to be respected. Like, there's no spectrum of what a woman can be. And especially with like, you know, like there was a lot of like, well, you know, he only likes her because she's pretty, or, you know, and I also thought what was really interesting to me too, and please feel free to like, you know, challenge me on this, but I thought that even when the men were supposed to be villains, the like impetus for their actions was a woman. So like, John Dashwood as their brother, like, he was, you know, like a cheap asshole, but he also like was very influenced by Fanny being like, bah, bah, bah. And then like Lucy, you know, is like masterminding this whole thing behind the scenes with Edward, of like making, you know, Edward do this and then Robert do that. And even like when Willoughby shows up and is like, drunk, by the way, and is like please, oh, I just spit everywhere. Please hear my side of it. He's like, you don't understand. The woman made me do this, and then the woman, you know, my aunt was trying to take away my money. And, you know, and so it's like, why? Let's take a step back here. Why are we blaming the women for everything?
Right. But that's the thing. It's like interesting because the way she set it up is that like everyone almost has like, it's because a woman can't carry the wealth in the family. It's like all of the men are either looking for women to like keep their status. Because even with like with Willoughby, it's like I have to marry a woman that has money, and like even in the crazy, like opening one of the earlier scenes of like Fanny just talking shit about the mom and the three daughters.
Oh my God.
Of just like, no, oh my God, they're not going to be they're not going to be able to survive with what you give them. So there's not even a point into giving them any money or whatever.
Well, she's like, what are they going to do with all that money? That's far too much money for them to figure out what to do with. They barely
use they barely need anything. So you don't even give them that's so much money.
Fanny is like almost a caricature, honestly. Yeah. Like she truly is above and beyond. And then it's interesting that you bring up because I see both sides of it. I see exactly what you're saying with why are we blaming everything on the women, because that is total bullshit. But at the same time, part of me sees like it's almost some level of power for the woman to be able to be the villain, for the woman to be able to take that ownership and say, I was playing, my cards under the table or whatever.
Because it's like the only thing, because they know that's the only way that they can like get any sort of wealth is to snatch a man.
I do think that's a good point. And I did put in the notes that like, as much of a bitch Fanny is, we must respect the grip that she has on her husband.
Yeah.
He is a spineless coward.
She is pulling those strings.
His ass belongs to Fanny.
Oh my God. Well, between Eleanor and Marianne though, like who have you like, I don't know, who do you align with, or who do you feel more kinship towards? I think, besides being Mrs. Jennings, I definitely feel, I think I want to say that I am more Marianne than Eleanor, but I think in my actions, I am definitely like when I problem solve, like when someone's like telling something to me, my initial thought is like, well, then just do this. And then it's solved. And it's like, no, sometimes people just want to tell you like how they feel. Right. Like, you don't have to, you can just be like, I'm so like, just emote. But I think I would want to be a Marianne. Like if I was in the story, I would much rather be Marianne and feel what it feels like to go up and down, like to go through the throes of it.
Bless. I see. Whereas I'm like, so whenever I think about Star Wars, and I'm like,
another famous Jane Austen story, absolutely. Yeah.
What character would I want to be? R2-D2, hands down. R2-D2 is the best character in the whole series. What character am I?
I love this take.
Yeah, I love
C-3PO. I'm C-3PO. Like, let's be real. I've got very high anxiety. I freak out very easily. So unfortunately, I believe I'm a Marianne. Am I pleased with that? Absolutely not. That is not the person I desire to be. But I cry when I'm mad. I cry when I'm happy. It's honestly surprising I'm not crying right now. So, so unfortunately, while I wish I was an R2-D2, I'm a Marianne. Gross.
I'm an Eleanor, but I have to say, and like, that's, it's just like, obviously, but I have to say, I do think that they both have their merits. Like Eleanor is straight up cold-blooded. Like it was hilarious to me. There's a number of instances when I was like, this bitch is like cold as ice. But I also felt like Marianne was like incredibly relatable just in terms of like, just like feeling your emotion. And like, there was one point where when the whole Willoughby thing was going on, that it was like, the only thing that could calm her down was a glass of wine. And I was like, yes, same. Marianne, I get it, so.
Oh. See,
it was so funny that Marianne too, like fully like was sick after the Willoughby thing. She was like, she could barely get up. I was like, girl,
gross,
girl.
I also love
that thing. Like, while I get the emotion part, totally get the unbridled emotion part. I am absolutely not like that when it comes to like that kind of shit. Like, absolutely not. I'm like, bye. Like, moving forward.
And just the drama of her when she first gets sick and she tries to like walk around the house and be like, yes, I'm so much better. And then it's like very dramatic. She's like, like swooning. And it's like, I guess I'm not okay. I'm like, yes, that's very relatable. I get that. Also one of my favorite Marianne moments was when Edward showed up and Lucy and Eleanor were in the room together, and it was super awkward. And then Marianne comes in and was like, "How have you been? My gosh, I love you. You're such a good friend." And then Edward leaves and Lucy leaves, and Marianne was like, "Why could Lucy not get the hint that we did not want her there?" She does not try to do anything for civility. She's like, I want people to know what I'm feeling, and I respect that.
For sure. I think for me, my favorite Marianne moments were definitely like in the beginning when she was like, you know, the parts I read. When she was like, Edward sucks. Edward's boring. I could never see myself being married to a man who like, he doesn't even like the same art that I like. Like, what would you even talk about? Like, when she was like, oh.
She's like, he's so simple.
Yeah, he wasn't even good at reading novels aloud.
Girl, go to the theater, girl. Go.
And I think it's for that reason. I'm curious how you feel about her ending up with Colonel Brandon, because it felt really out of character for me.
I 1000% agree that it felt out of character and felt honestly like what you were saying about Austen being like, yes, women have to kind of like fit into this decorum. It was almost like this was her lesson to like, okay, this is what it's like to live through your emotions. You get sideswiped by men. So now that you kind of like understand what like position and whatever and decorum is, that you're finally in the straight path and marry a man in his like what 40s 30, he's like 37.
Oh my god, they were like
Colonel Brandon is like 35.
Yeah, 35.
Yeah.
But they were like, he's dead. He's practically dead. Like
his joints. He talked about his joints.
Did you hear him?
Yes, another classic Marianne of like, he's action, and Marianne's mom's like, what am I?
See, okay, so my thing was like, I was really just like rooting for Alan Rickman when I watched the movie.
I know, in my mind, I was like, I can see Alan Rickman.
Right.
So.
I didn't even consider what it meant that Marianne changed her mind. I just was like, oh, she's not a shallow bitch anymore because she almost died. Like that was how I took that on. But I was also the whole time, especially when he was like, I adopted that baby. And I was like, oh my God, bless this man. Give Kate Winslet, come on, cut him some slack.
I did think in terms of Colonel Brandon, like all you need to know to understand the character is that Alan Rickman played him.
Absolutely.
And like, you don't need to do any more analysis.
No,
the casting
I know.
did
you
it all
kind of
for
like
you.
Understand, and it's like,
that's it.
You're like,
okay,
oh,
then
okay,
yeah, like,
okay.
Yeah, and all of the decisions that Colonel Brandon did, I was like, yeah, Alan Rickman would do those. So
It makes sense now.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
You should really watch the movie, Allie.
I was like, oh, maybe I can watch it before this, but I didn't have enough time, but I will.
Yeah, and I had to rent it. It's not like it's freely available anywhere, so you have to seek it out. It's like $4 for 48 hours.
Well, as long as that money's going to Emma Thompson and Ang Lee.
Here's hoping.
Yes, and Ang Lee, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, I was glad to see that.
That's right. Wow, the range that this man has. My God.
Truly.
Good for them. Okay. Should we talk about the men?
I mean, we
have to.
Okay, I will start by saying, I do. This is where I share sentiments with Marianne, because listen. If I am tumbling down a wet hill, and a man picks me up
with dogs, a man with dogs
saves me. What do you expect? Of course I'm going to be in love with this man. And anything he says, any word he says, I will be like, oh my God, yes. Oh, it's so funny.
You've won me over.
Yeah, you've won me over. So that's why I was
fair.
like, okay, I can't blame him. Now, what I will blame him is, I mean, classic fuckboy behavior. Classic, like, leading
The
you
original.
on. Yes, literally the blueprint, the standard. Like, fully leading her on. And then when it's like, oop, I gotta go. It's like, oh, yeah, no, I never made any of those. So I'm sorry that you misunderstood all of the things that I did.
Right. And then, okay. So then when Colonel Brandon gives the whole lowdown to Eleanor.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's
Eleanor's
yeah.
like, don't worry, Marianne. He really did love you. Like, I'm sorry. What? What is happening? I could not. I was like, I had to pause it. I was like, I need to walk away for a second. Like, what? I cannot. Ow, my cat is scratching me.
Yeah, I could not get over how savage the letter was that he wrote to Marianne.
Oh my God.
I couldn't believe it. And then he was like, oh yeah, well, my wife wrote it. And I was like, who's believing this? You really want me to believe that your wife, like, dictated this letter for you? You wrote that. And also, like, I also just can't get over the fact that he shows up drunk in the middle of the night to see his ex-girlfriend. And then he's like, Eleanor, be honest with me. Do you really think I'm an asshole?
I don't think Eleanor that happened in the movie.
Oh, okay. Well, in the book, it's so... Did you get to that part in the book, Catherine?
No.
Okay. So in the book, did he come in the middle of the night at all in the movie?
No.
Oh my God.
Went to, like, a ball. They go to a ball.
And do they meet is that where they see him again there?
They were at, like, a ball and they see him, and that's kind of where I was in the book too. So I guess I didn't think it was a ball.
Okay.
Though. I thought it was just somebody's house in the book. But she's like, Willoughby, like, screams it from across the room.
Is he married at that point?
We don't know.
Oh, okay. So in the book, he gets married to this other woman, and Marianne is like, oh, they go to Cleveland. Marianne gets sick. And they're like, it looks like the end times for her. And so Eleanor sends for her mom. Colonel Brandon goes to get her mom.
That part happens, but Willoughby's not involved.
Oh, okay. And so then Eleanor is waiting for them to come back, and she sees a carriage, and she was like, oh, they're here early. And it turns out to be fucking Willoughby. And she comes in, and Eleanor, bless her heart, she sees him, and he sees her, and she straight up turns around, goes to walk out of the room without even saying anything to him.
Slay.
And he's like, please wait, please just talk to me. And she's like, I will, but only if you stop being violent, sir. And she's like, should I even talk to him? And then she's like, but I really want to know the tea, so I'm going to go ahead.
Did that happen, RJ? And I missed it? It didn't, right?
I don't remember. I don't
think that happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
And Willoughby goes through the whole thing. He's like, you don't understand this and this and this. And it's like, by the end of it, you're like, Eleanor is like, well, maybe I feel a little bit bad for him. But I was like, no, this man is worthless. But then after the end of all of it, he's like, please just tell me honestly. He's like, do you think I'm a knave? Or like, so whatever fucking bullshit, old English word. But I was like, why would you do that at the end? Just be like, can you be honest with me? And he's drunk. That's the other part about it, is that Eleanor is immediately like, oh no, this man is like sauced. And
sloshed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a quick YouTube did not show up for me.
Yeah, I don't think that happened. This cat, I'm going to murder him. Hold on. He's poking holes in my shirt.
Marianne meets Willoughby at the ball. God, he was handsome in the movie, though. I'll give him that.
He was handsome. Poking holes in my frozen shirt. What a turd. Sorry.
Yeah.
That is wild, though. That is wild, and I love that.
And that was the part when I was like, oh, like clutching my pearls.
Clutching your pearls.
Feels fair. Mm-hmm. See, and that's the other thing. I'm like, girl, why are you hanging out outside in the rain, like for nothing? Why? Like, what is the point?
Girl, what else is there to do? Girl, they live in a cottage, girl.
Well, I'll tell you what else to do, because then when she gets better, she's like, I will read for 6 hours a day, every day.
Right? Perfect.
Great.
Yeah, instead of almost
okay,
dying.
Marianne.
I feel like us three would be the best servants in this cottage, because we would just be talking about them as soon as they're all asleep. They're like,
so much shit.
And
so
fully
much
be
shit.
like, you know he's married. You know this man has a secret. My God.
That would be fun, actually.
Should we talk about the Ferrars? The Ferrars? The
Yes.
Ferrars?
Who even is that? I don't even remember.
Edward and his brother Robert.
Edward, Robert, and Fanny.
Listening to the audiobook, I thought it was like Pharaohs, like Mia Farrow, but with an S. And then when I was watching the film, I had the captions on. I also thought Eleanor was like Eleanor.
Yeah.
And then when I had the captions on, I was like, dear God, none of this is what I thought it was. So anyway, that's what
Is that not how you say her name?
It is, but I thought it was like spelled
like
Eleanor. Okay.
Yeah, like Roosevelt.
I understand.
Yes.
I did, like, in the beginning of the story, I felt like I thought that it was going to go into Eleanor actually is fond of Colonel Brandon and that they were going to end up together.
Like
I never pictured Edward in the actual picture. So it was kind of interesting for me that, like, at the end, like, it became like Edward all the way, because I was like, I didn't really think that you liked Edward.
Right. That's what I meant by, like, when that part happened in the book, it was clear that Eleanor was like disturbed when Lucy was talking about being engaged to Edward. Yeah. But I was like, girl, you didn't even tell us that you liked him as readers or your damn self. I don't blame him for not knowing that you like him.
That you like him. Yeah.
You didn't tell anyone. So what do you expect?
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to be embarrassed if he didn't actually like her. So she didn't want to, like, which I relate
money.
to.
Yeah. And it sounds like he had money. And back then that was like not easy for her to not have money and him have money, I guess.
I couldn't get over the fact. And I think when we read, I don't know what time in history that Agatha Christie lived, but I can't get over because she did this too in the book that we read. But when Jane Austen introduced Edward, and she was just like, he was kind of ugly. Like I
love when they do that. I truly love it. I really do.
Okay,
she did it with the women. She talked about the women being plain looking and like all kinds of shit. I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember that the one wife was like, oh, she was running around on in the Hercule Poirot book. I don't think this was in the Hercule Poirot book that we read, because as you know, I went off after we read that. Yes, you did. You were a Poirot stan. Yeah,
I was. But in one of them, this guy was like, I think it may have been Death on the Nile. No, it's Murder on the Orient Express. He's like, hey, can you please look into this for me? I think somebody's trying to kill me. And Hercule Poirot is like, no, I don't really want to do that. And the guy's like, why not? And he's like, because I don't like your face. Like, that's literally what he says to this man. And I was like, an icon.
Yes.
So anyway, we're not talking about Hercule Poirot.
Agatha Christie was 1890.
Oh, okay, so after.
Yeah, way after, because Jane Austen was
like 17. Yeah, it was like 1775 to like 1820 or something like that. I looked this up. I didn't just know this.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that some things never change.
Yeah,
some things never change.
But it's just so funny.
If I wrote a book, I would definitely be like, this guy was just plain ugly.
He just wasn't attractive.
Yeah.
I screamed at the letter that Lucy wrote him to break off their engagement because
we didn't get that in the movie. Please share.
Oh, Catherine! Oh my God! So first of all,
I might look it up. I might look this up.
She starts the letter, "Dear Sir,"
Whoop.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
And she's like, since you clearly no longer love me, I took matters into my own hands and married your brother. If we don't stay friends, that's not my fault. That's your fault. Please delete my number, but you can keep my hair. Tee hee hee.
That was a huge thing. This lack of hair thing was huge.
Yeah,
Weird.
that was a thing. Do you have any approximate knowledge of what chapter this letter was in?
Probably like 47 or 48. It was almost at the very end.
Okay.
And I also, the other thing too about the lock of hair, when Willoughby had to send Marianne's hair back, and he's like, I couldn't even kiss it goodbye. I was like, you couldn't what? What are you doing with this hair?
If you didn't send it back, you would have what?
Just throw it out. What's Marianne gonna do with it? It's already been cut off.
Exactly. Just get rid of it. Or just say like, I kept it or whatever, and then just throw it away.
Sew it into a tapestry.
Bless. I don't know where I am because I'm scrolling through like the book online because public domain. But the part that I'm at right now, it says, the Colonel is a ninny, my dear, because he is 2,000 a year himself. He thinks that nobody can marry on less. He's a ninny. Anyway, I thought that was funny.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. When Marianne was like, you can only have one love in your life. After your first love, that's it. And so that's what was like the main reason why she didn't want to be with Colonel Brandon. She was like, well, he's already been married once before. I'm like, girl.
Okay, also, it's chapter 49.
Okay. 49. God bless.
It's a couple pages into chapter 49. I don't have page numbers. But it starts, Dear Sir, which I think on its own is a really great start, honestly, to a letter to your former lover.
Also in the movie, I kind of was under the impression that Fanny knew about the engagement with Lucy and Edward for a minute there. And that Fanny was orchestrating it intentionally because she was this massive bitch to Eleanor, but she was like super nice to Lucy. And then they're like chilling in the parlor. This is when that part happens that I told you where she like loses her shit and it's like, but it's really quick. They're chilling in the parlor and she's like, there's this guy that I like. And Fanny's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, good for you, bro. And then Lucy's like, and his family has a lot of money. And then she's like, well, all they have to do is meet you and they won't care that you don't have any money. And then she tells her, and she whispers it in her ear, and then she starts hitting her physically. Mm-hmm. And so, I was like, oh my wrong. God. She didn't know. My bad.
Does Lucy have a sister in the movie? Another character.
But I did get to that in the book though.
Oh, okay. No, another character that Jane Austen was like, she looked horrible.
Okay, you said 49.
There was nothing flattering about her.
This 49. Flat-faced bitch.
Yes.
Oh my God, Jane. Okay,
that's 45. God bless. I'm going to find this, whether it's during this or not.
I also feel like Edward got off too easy. Like,
yeah,
I didn't feel, because he does kind of explain like, oh, well, it was just a boyhood fancy and then it went too far and blah, blah. And I was like, you're too desperate, girl. Like, why are you like, don't forgive him. At least make him buy you a bottle of wine or something.
I just got to that part exactly. It was a foolish, idle inclination on my side, said he, the consequence of ignorance of the world and want of employment. Had my mother given me some active profession when I was removed at 18 from the care of Mr. Pratt, I think, nay, I am sure it would never have happened.
Blame it on your mother. Again, his mother. An evil crone woman that everyone hated.
I found the letter.
Are you going to read it?
Being very sure I have long lost your affections, I have thought myself at liberty to bestow my own upon another. and have no doubt of being as happy with him as I once used to think I might be with you. I am sworn to accept a hand while the heart was another's. Sincerely wish you happily in your choice. Oh, happy in your choice. And it shall not be my fault if we are not always good friends, as our near relationship now makes proper. I could safely say I owe you no ill will, and am sure you will be too generous to do us any ill offices. Your brother has gained my affections entirely, and as we could not live without one another, we are just returned from the altar and are now on our way to Dwalish for a few weeks, which place your dear brother has great curiosity to see, but thought I would first trouble you with these few lines, and shall always remain your sincere well-wisher, friend, and sister, Lucy.
Amazing.
Wait, there's a PS. Read after the PS.
Okay. I have burnt all your letters. Will return your picture the first opportunity. Please to destroy my scrawls, but the ring with my hair you are very welcome to keep. Jesus Christ.
Kind of invested and like that kind of,
and
like,
then the
like,
book
what?
ends like literally 2 chapters after that. You're like, damn, Jane.
Just like Lucy, she couldn't even write the letter before she got married.
No,
Like,
absolutely not. Why?
Her and Robert were so in love that they had to get married
thought.
before she could write the letter.
Well, here's my thought. In the movie, and I assume this is what happened in the book. You please correct me. In the movie, when his family found out about, for those who read, please correct. When his family found out about the secret engagement to Lucy, they wrote him out of the will, right? Mm-hmm. And so Edward wasn't getting anything, and Robert was getting everything. So I bet Lucy was like, we gotta go get married before your family finds out, so we can still get all the money. Mm-hmm. And so then, after they were married and they couldn't do shit about it, then she was like, ha ha, motherfucker. Like, that's my best guess.
It was it was basically like that. And then, but then Jane Austen was like, yeah, but the mother still loved Robert more. And so she could more easily forgive him than Edward. And he still ends up with like all the money. So.
Damn.
It's bullshit.
That is bullshit.
I also, in terms of like the characters, I don't know how much they were in the movie, but the Palmers, Mrs.
Were those
Jennings,
the ones that own the house? Oh my God, was that Imelda? Was that Imelda
yes.
Stanton?
Yeah.
Oh
yes.
my God, I fucking loved Imelda Stanton, and I did love Mrs. Palmer in the book. She was fucking hilarious because Hugh Laurie was not having it in the movie, in the book, nothing.
Like, never was there a better example of a couple that just absolutely hates each other, should not be together. And like Mr. Palmer could say like the most insulting thing, and Charlotte would be like,
yeah.
Droll.
Jesus.
In the book, at least, she gives birth, and Mr. Palmer is like, I don't know. It looks like every other baby I've ever seen.
I do remember this now from the movie of like Hugh Laurie just being absolutely like, sure.
It was House. Hugh Laurie was just playing House as Mr. Palmer.
But then there was also like Eleanor was like, well, what else could he have expected by marrying someone that pretty? Like, was he expecting to be intellectually stimulated?
Oh
Damn.
my God.
I know.
Oh my God. In the movie, even in the book before, because I like I said, I met them before I lost my book. I felt like she almost was like, oh, haha, I don't care. Like, she was like in on the joke that he didn't like her. I didn't get that as much from the movie, but in the book, it felt like the parts that I read.
One-sided.
Anyway, it felt like they hated each other, but that she didn't like, that she knew that he didn't like her and she didn't really like him either. And everything was cool beans.
I wasn't sure if like Jane Austen was implying that she was too stupid to understand that her husband hated her. Like that was just their relationship dynamic.
Bless.
Because I think like also when you're like being, like she's always hosting or she's always like entertaining. So it's just like, whatever. Like he doesn't really care, but she just has to save face for whatever,
It made me think of like the 50s, the 1950s, and how she's just like, well, I'm just going to have my Tupperware party over here. You go do you, boo.
For sure. It on our notes it says that we've saved the most important character for last. The main character that has truly ran rampant in the lives of these people, and that's money, baby. Money. I wish, because they were so specific on the amount of money. Because they were so specific at the amount of money that people had, like, to their name. I really wanted to run like what's 100 pounds in 1770? Like, how much is that today? But I don't think there's enough historical information to actually like convert that
inflation rate.
Yeah.
I also just thought it was weird that they just casually knew what everyone in their life made.
Yeah, and like how much each, like, was there a record somewhere of like, this is how much this person has to their name?
Like, how... Sorry, you go, Catherine.
Oh, I was just saying, my thing was like, do they do anything? Like, are they all just like straight chilling?
No, I think it's just money that just keeps getting passed down and down from like dukes. I don't know.
So we know that I think Robert Ferrars, we know was a lawyer. Someone was a lawyer. I know that. Okay. Mr. Palmer was running to be
MP
in Parliament.
He had been MP. Isn't that what Mrs. Palmer said? That he had been the MP?
I don't know if he was running for re-election, but
right. But he was. But
it was for most of the characters. It was just like Sir. What is Sir John doing other than trying to lure people into his home?
Got me.
That was his main character trait was, do you want to come over to my house for dinner?
Oh my God. He was pretty funny though. In the book, that was hilarious. That he would be like, we can't have a picnic without you.
Maybe Fanny was right then to like treat him like a child, because he kind of was.
Maybe. And then his like long suffering wife is there like, you can't throw a party on 2 hours notice. And he's like, it's fine.
He's like,
and
she's like, me, dear.
Oh my God.
Right. Oh, that's right. I mean, and that's the one that sold them the cottage, right? So he was fully like, please come to my house. I will sell it to you for a very good price. You just have to be here all the time.
Yeah.
Like, wild.
Yeah, I think like it goes back to that conversation that we had of like, because it's almost like there's a finite amount of money, and like the women have to kind of like keep the flow of it or like know where it goes, because there's only so little of it that like that ends up being kind of like the biggest thing that they trade over, or like they kind of like, that's how they acquire power over other people, is like, how much, if I marry you, then I get this amount, blah, blah, blah. So.
Yeah, the dowries.
Couldn't be me. Yeah. Couldn't relate.
No dowries, homie.
There was a moment when Willoughby was like confessing his sins. I did like that he was basically like, I like to surround myself with rich people.
I mean, fair.
I mean,
I don't have enough money, so I surround myself with rich people.
Fair.
Also, this was truly the biggest red flag, where he was like, I'm going to give you a horse.
Yes! And then fucking Eleanor had to be like, Marianne.
Literally, Eleanor was like, there is nowhere to keep a horse in our tiny ass cottage. What do you mean he's giving you a horse, girl?
And Marianne's like, we'll keep it in the kitchen.
Oh,
That is classic fuckboy behavior of like, I'm going to give you everything just to keep that like, you know, that so that they need you. Mm-hmm. That was truly the biggest red flag. No.
And then not even have anything. What a turd.
What an ass. Which sucks because in the movie he's very handsome. So, but I will say Hugh Grant in the movie is very handsome too. And I think that's why like if I didn't have the movie in my mind of like who was who, I would have been like Edward. I mean, sure. I mean, I guess it's nice to have someone that's so fine. Like it's something you'd never have to worry about, I guess. Wow. Okay, any last lingering thoughts about Sense and Sensibility?
Can I, and you can cut this out if it makes the episode too long or not, but sure. I really want to share my favorite Eleanor moments.
Absolutely.
Please do.
Because some of them were so vicious. So at one point, Edward goes to Barton to visit the Dashwoods, and Marianne
like
is
first time he visits?
Yes. And Marianne is like, oh, I'm sure no one appreciates our old home the way that I did. Oh, it's completely lost on them. And Eleanor is just like, well, not everybody loves dead leaves the way that you do, Marianne. Okay.
Love that.
And the part when Lucy is confessing that she's engaged to Edward, and she's like crying and like patting her eyes with a handkerchief, and Jane Austen wrote, Eleanor wasn't feeling very sympathetic at that moment. Love it. After the party, when Willoughby ices Marianne, Eleanor wakes up at like dawn the next day, and she sees that Marianne is sitting by the window, desperately like writing a letter. And she's like, should I even ask? And Marianne's like, no! And goes back to the letter. Okay, and so then like right after that, she finds out that Willoughby is like, you know, engaged, and she's like crying and wailing, and Eleanor is like, can you please keep it together because you're embarrassing me and my mother. Like she never, for some reason throughout the entire book, she never says our mother. She always says my mother. I don't know why, but I just love that she was like, you're embarrassing me. Keep it together. Yeah. I already mentioned when when Willoughby shows up and Eleanor sees him and turns around and walks the other way. Love that. And then I also can't get over how savage she was for just like dragging Lucy along, making her think that they were friends.
She was supporting her.
And she was pretty I know. Yeah. And it's like every single time that Lucy and her sister shows up, Eleanor's like, oh God, not this bitch again. Please don't leave me alone with them.
And then she's like, God,
yes. And she's like, I just need to know more about my crush. And I just can't get over like how juvenile she is about like, well, he only likes her because she's pretty. And it's like, okay, men are like that sometimes.
Sweetie, good luck, because that's kind of life. Like their main thing.
I also liked when, you were talking about Lucy. Oh, I liked when Lucy was like, so do you know like anything about, and it was Mrs.
The mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mrs. Ferris. And she's like, nope, never met her. Nope, don't know who that is. No idea. I was like, cold.
Yeah, and then Lucy is like, I know it's so random. I'm sorry. I just... Yep. Lucy was a piece of work too. I'm not gonna get into it, but she was also a piece of work.
Lucy was just like, you can clearly be like, she doesn't have a lot of friends, you know, and she doesn't get out much. I will say,
she has this ugly
she
sister.
Does not want to be a secret. She does not. She has a secret, but she wants to tell everybody.
She wants to tell. Absolutely. My favorite sister moment is actually from Margaret when she was fully like, just like, well, you know, Eleanor likes someone. So just like, and Eleanor's actually super obsessed with someone right now too. And his name starts with F. So she is
just so you know.
Just so you know, she's pretty fucking stupid for this kid. And Eleanor's literally just like, will you shut the fuck up?
For real. Mary Ann too. Like I feel like Mary Ann got like unreasonably angry. And I'm like, she's not spilling your shit, Mary Ann.
I know, literally.
Somebody else's shit.
I do appreciate Marianne though, because like even when they think that Edward got married to Lucy and they find that out and Marianne bursts into tears and leaves the room.
That's the thing when you're just like something happened to you, but like obviously like your sister is feeling the emotions for you. Like I feel like Eleanor's just like, okay, great. I don't have to worry about that. She's doing it for me. So
yeah, and in the movie she was like, I mean, he tried to tell me. Like she was like, I'm not mad at him. He tried to tell me. We just didn't have time. It's all good. Whatever.
Oh my God.
She's very chill about it.
So funny. These girls. I mean, that's what you get.
And then I swear I'm done. I'm sorry.
Please.
I think like the story itself is so funny. And that's what, I didn't have fun like necessarily in the act of reading it, but like talking about it is so funny. So Catherine, the other thing that happened when Willoughby went and he's explaining himself to Eleanor. Yes. And he's explaining himself to Eleanor. He's like, do you understand how many times I had to avoid you when you were in London? He was like, I was on a state of constant alert. I had to slip into so many shops to avoid your notice. And he also says, because he like leaves a note for them when they're not there, he's like, I purposely sat outside Mrs. Jennings' house and waited until you left to go and leave that note.
Oh my God. Jesus.
I will say another slay for Mrs. Jennings where she was just like, you're so pretty too though. So it's like, don't worry about him. Like,
oh yeah,
any fish in the sea.
She's like, there's other men, girl. You're like the prettiest girl in Barton.
She's like he's a douche.
He's a douche.
Forget about him.
Fuck him. And then I think it was Mrs. Palmer who went fully like, I've never met this man, but I swear I hate this man. And I will never let him in at my parties. I'm like, girl, you don't have to. It is not any of your business.
She's a fan. She's like, Marianne, I got you.
Marianne, I don't know this man, and I will never know now because he sucks.
But, Sir John's wife, Lady Middleton, when she's like, listen, I don't approve of what Willoughby did, but his wife is very well connected. So when they do get married, I will be writing them a note of congratulations.
Oh my God.
Oh.
These people. My God.
Yeah. You're right. This needs to be made into like a modern, like we need a Clueless, but with this, because I would like that.
Yeah,
yes.
totally. Like definitely in like modern setting, and just like bickering and mess. Like I want the letters to be DMs. That's how I pictured it. Like when
I mean, did you see me just texting earlier as Sir John?
When Marianne, when Willoughby was like, I'm sending back the letters that you sent me, and they fully like started from like, hey, I'm gonna be in London, so it would be so awesome to see you. I know I'm sending this super late, so I probably won't see you tonight, but if you like, it would be so cool to see you tomorrow. And then it's like, so it's tomorrow, and I still haven't seen you. And then the last one is fully like, why are you avoiding me?
It's like the huge giant blue bubble, and then he just responds K. It's just like a giant blue, just K.
Or like a thumbs up reaction. Not even the K. Like a thumbs up.
Yes.
It's so funny. When I was listening to it on the audiobook, I was like, this literally reads like a crazy like text back of like, yeah, totally. Just wanted to make sure that you were okay and blah, blah, you made it okay. And so just, I'm here. So if like you happen to be here, like maybe cool to see you.
Very reminiscent of the pilot of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yeah, very
when
that energy.
When she moves to California, because Marianne does say, she's like, well, the only reason I went to London was to see Willoughby.
Yeah. Girl, you're in London. You are in London. Go out.
The town.
It
took me a while to understand that when they were like, will you be in town? That they meant London.
Yeah.
In town, right.
Bless. Well,
back in the day.
The Dashwoods definitely kept us entertained for many reasons. And you know what? We all got through the story the many ways.
One way or another. We figured it out. So very happy that we all dove into Jane Austen together. So that was a fun adventure. Even though it is not my genre, I am glad that I gave it a try. And somebody else actually told me when I told them I was reading Sense and Sensibility and it was my first Jane Austen, she was like, it's not my favorite. You should have read Emma. I was like,
yeah. When I told my coworkers, they were like, do the audiobook. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You got it. Well, that puts a bow on our conversation about the three Dashwoods. Next month, dear listeners, if you look in your calendars, when we will be reading this book, it'll be during the Halloween time. So, for next month, we will have a nice quick read. We will be reading Carrie by Stephen King. So finally, Catherine's like, finally, I had to sit through these three girls, and now...
I have no complaints. We've read Jurassic Park. I ended up loving the Hercule Poirot book. I like the Book Eaters. I have no complaints. I'm good. I have no complaints. But I am excited because I love Stephen King.
And I have never read a Stephen King, so this will be my first
Me either. I don't think I've even seen a Stephen King movie, so I know.
We'll talk about it, but I think this would also be a good opportunity after reading it, because I've heard it is a quick read, that you could also watch the movie, just to kind of like, even though the movie is like more of a camp classic in a way that like it's camp that they went so hard of like, it's so serious that sometimes it doesn't really work.
You're talking about the remake, right?
No,
I haven't seen the remake.
I've only seen the original one. Yeah,
I've only seen the Sissy Spacek. It's been a long time.
It'll be Sissy Spacek or nothing.
Absolutely. So next month, dear readers, we will be reading Carrie by Stephen King. Carrie White may be picked on by her classmates, but she has a gift. She can move things with her mind. Doors lock, candles fall. This is her power and her problem. Then, an act of kindness, as spontaneous as the vicious taunts of her classmates, offers Carrie a chance to be normal, until an unexpected cruelty turns her gift into a weapon of horror and destruction that no one will ever forget. So you can grab a copy of that book and all of the books that we've read in the Ampliverse bookshop. If you purchase a book there, it not only helps the Ampliverse, but also a local bookstore in your area. So click the link below. That's at bookshop.org/shop/the Ampliverse. Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening along to the Ampliverse Book Club. You can find and follow us on social media at the Ampliverse on Twitter and Instagram, and you can keep the conversation going across the Ampliverse by joining the Discord server that's linked on this episode. Finally, if you love the show and the others we do here, feel obliged to tip $1 or $2, you can on our Ko-fi that's also linked on the episode, which helps keep the lights on in our universe. Catherine, my dear Allie. Thank you so much for joining. Alienor, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation of Sense and Sensibility. Thank you, everyone, for joining our book club, and we'll see you again next month. Until then, read on. Bye-bye.
Discovering voices